Zaslav restores the Snyderverse. Perhaps, but maybe not. Yeah, this gets bandied about a lot, and it's going to be bandied about for quite a while. But eventually, we'll know. But, there's signs that seem to point in this direction. There are other signs that point in the opposite. But those are kind of weak. I know there was this story about this woman who was working on a DC documentary, and they wouldn't let her use Zack Snyder's Justice League footage because the representative of Warner Brothers says only the Joss Whedon version is considered canon. Well, that's one little incident, and then there's been a couple of nastiness towards any Snyder hopefuls, and that seems to be sour grapes over the old regime being shown the door and stuff like that. So you got to factor that in. Meanwhile, there's actual action afoot that seems to go in the other direction of some form of fashion of Snyderverse. Ultimately, it could just come down to a lot of cast members that he casted will remain. Obviously, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, and for whatever reason, they're hanging on to Ezra Miller, at least for the Flash movie that's on the way, provided no other nasty scandals come about, or those nasty scandals that had made rumblings turn out to be true. We don't know in total. Hopefully they're not. Hopefully it's more smoke than fire, but that's the terrible state that story's in. But from all accounts of people claiming to have seen the screen test, it's like the movie's pretty good. That even he does a fairly decent job in it. If this thing's a smash hit, even the thought of them moving beyond him, they might cast him again. I don't know. It depends on the state of his mental health. If he's really in deep trouble with that, even to the point of perhaps schizophrenia or something like that, he may not be able to come back. So even if all the scandal stuff is not as bad as we thought, and that's just unfortunate, but that could be the deal. So anyway, that's that story. But the overall Snyderverse is that, you had some diamonds in the rough. You had some failures, but you had some hits. And so they're kind of stuck with it no matter what they do. And the previous regime was trying to work around that, and they were going to do Batgirl and Supergirl taking Batman and Superman's place. That was never going to fly. You could have Batgirl and Supergirl, but you can't have them knocking down the two biggest foundations of the DC entity, for God's sake, Superman started the whole thing. It's just, it's just so. And then, we'll have a Batman movie series on the side that has nothing to do with it, and that was a bad idea. Wasn't going to work. So that got scrapped. And my guess is beyond just the idea of Batgirl being a bad movie, which they're all saying it was. Don't know, didn't see it. Is just that it was too dependent on that version going forward, and that a few reshoots here and there wouldn't fix it, whereas apparently the Flash movie can be dealt with. So why all of a sudden saying like it's a definite thing that Zaslav is that's his goal, is he's going with Snyderverse? Well, Mikey Sutton again and his buddy Sil Abdul on his channel, they discussed this and said their sources are saying this. And the main telltale signs of what we do know is Ben Affleck is back in a rather large way. We knew he was going to be in the Flash movie. Then, he's in Aquaman. And, of course, it was only recently I'd heard that, there's going to be these scenes of Michael Keaton in Aquaman, and that was the plan to roll out their new time-warped DC shared universe deal. And, they've changed their mind, so now it's Ben Affleck will be the Bruce Wayne still of that, and he shows up in Aquaman. Now there's stories that he's also reshooting some scenes for Flash again. So, what's the deal there? It had already been rumored that apparently he was supposed to be killed off in the movie, and that was shot down early on. Either it did happen or they reshot it, where there's a scene where he's been shot off into the nightmare world that you saw in Batman vs. Superman and Zack Snyder's Justice League and stuff like that, leaving it open for the possibility of going back to that. So that's what they were trying to do, both, at the time for that, which is an acknowledgement of just how popular his version of the character is. It's just the way it is. And well, apparently they're going to go even further than that. So if there's new scenes in there, that scene might not even show up. It might just be that he's still Batman, and Barry Allen returns to the universe that he had. Maybe they'll show some telltale signs that something has changed, which is a nod to the original Flashpoint. The Flash, after that adventure, goes back to his own timeline, and his costume has changed. Batman, he meets Batman, his costume has changed, but he doesn't realize it's happened. And it was in the comic book that he could remember the way the timeline was, but it was fading, and if he didn't act fast enough and right the ship, he was going to lose his memories and never realize there's anything wrong and never do anything about it. So he finally gets to where it's fixed, apparently, but he didn't fix it all the way. It was still changed, and of course that led to their New 52 thing and all that. But that was the scene he meets up with Batman again. Well, it's his Batman, it's Bruce Wayne. In the other world, it was Thomas Wayne was Batman, all that stuff. They're not doing that in the movie. But anyway, that's what it did. But everything, he says, and Batman asked him, is everything back to the way it was? He says, I think so. And so he didn't remember anymore the way it really was. So that's how that works. And so things like that could occur. So maybe there'll be some telltale signs that things are slightly different. My guess is if they keep the Supergirl in it, that'll be one of the different things. But there's also rumors that Henry Cavill shows up as well for a cameo, that he's not dead or never existed, whatever, They may go forward with the timeline in the movie that timeline existed, where baby Kal-El was killed by Zod, and so only Supergirl survived, and that sort of thing. But then you go back after everything's fixed, and so there's a Supergirl in the DCEU now. And then you could follow up on that story with a Superman and Supergirl movie, which I think would be the proper way to do that. So things like that could occur. Was that the original plan of Snyderverse? No, it wasn't. So does this really mean that Zack Snyder comes back and does Justice League Part 1 and Part 2? Maybe, but they won't be anything. I mean, some plot points probably would remain, taking on Darkseid and stuff like that. But it would be very different from what was originally planned. Best of all, and I think Snyder has confirmed this, that the business of Batman impregnating Lois, and then Clark and Lois raise his child after he dies. Yeah, nobody liked that. That's not there. He said that's Lois in his Justice League is pregnant with Superman's child. That's the deal. So that storyline no longer applies. As for the rest of it, well, it could probably just follow through. So the only thing missing, they say, is Henry Cavill. Do they have a deal with him? We don't know. We keep hearing teases and rumors. He was supposed to show up in the Comic-Con. He didn't. And, well, he was sick with COVID. Well, I don't know. Maybe, not that he doesn't have it, but that I don't know. That he could have zoomed in still, So anyway, the real first evidence you'll get is Black Adam. Will he appear in it? If he does, I'll bet that this is over. Snyderverse has been restored to some form of fashion. It means the cast will continue. And does that mean Zack Snyder comes back and direct? We still don't know that. But a good portion of it, that seals the deal. And so then it becomes more believable. These other aspects of it might very well be possible. If he doesn't, it doesn't necessarily shut it down right then and there, but boy, is it quite a deep cut wound to Snyderverse hopeful, outcomes. And so that's the deal. But sooner or later, this all comes about. As for Michael Keaton, I guess it's a one and done thing for him. I would be interested in him being utilized in a Batman Beyond film. That might be cool. But they keep talking about Zaslav's not interested in multiverse. Well, this is where he comes in to find out he's stuck too. Just like everybody else dealing with this DCEU stuff. There was talk of, oh, that's it, the Batman's over. They're going to scrap that and not do a sequel. I don't think so. I think there will be a sequel. So that's a separate project. unless, like I said, they were going to force him into the DCEU and Affleck says his goodbye. It doesn't look like that. It looks like they want to keep Affleck so that Robert Pattinson's Batman remains separate. Joker, of course, well, Joker made $1 billion, so you're going to do that, and that's just this weird side project. And so, fine, I don't care. It's fine with me, but the fear is that the audience is confused by who's what, when, and where, and all that. But you know, you keep them separated by the years. but it's, yeah, that might be a problem. It might be, but you know. So then would they allow for yet another project that's Michael Keaton's Batman in the Tim Burton verse, I guess, and have a Batman Beyond film, and even have Tim Burton directed? I don't know that the weirdness, his weirdness is all this kind of dark fairy tale approach to everything, whereas Batman Beyond looks like Batman meets, you know, Blade Runner and stuff in this futuristic cyberpunk world. You know, but maybe he could do it. I don't know. Just like the idea of having the old team back and everything, you know, could be a cool thing to have happen. But he certainly could pull that off, and I'd hate to see him get squandered and wasted just out of this whole mess that you know, just the idiocy of Warner Brothers, and then the bizarre, weird saga of Ezra Miller, you know, sabotaging everything. But maybe, just maybe, they could do that, and maybe that he's not too pissed off to no longer deal with these people, and that could be the deal. That could, you know. But anyway, as far as Snyderverse, in some form or fashion, I think, yeah, it does continue. So Black Adam, as far as Black Adam becoming the main villain they got to go up against rather than Darkseid, I'm not too keen on that. Somewhat, maybe, but ultimately, and he keeps calling him an anti-hero. Eventually, he's going to turn to be on their side, you know, and maybe he'll go up against Darkseid in the end. I don't know, but so that certainly changes things for any kind of Snyder involvement. But anyway, that's the situation. It's a lot of maybe. Then yes, this is it. What we do know is, yes, Affleck is shooting a lot of scenes. So that's a pretty big telltale sign of things afoot. And the direction of the Flash movie certainly will not be what it was initially. So there you go. We'll see what happens. But a big sign will be if this guy shows up at the end of Black Adam, even if it's only for a couple of seconds. That'll be a big sign of where the DCEU is. And we'll have to wait and see what they do, because a lot of this is Zaslav wrapping up the old regime's product. The Flash and Aquaman, that's what's left, you know, and he's got to wrap that up. Black Adam and Shazam, the same thing. So once those are done, then it's all on him on how the movie's following it, you know, fair. And of course, the ones he's stuck with, and hopefully he's polishing them up, and so it doesn't ruin what they're trying to build. And that's where it is as of now. So there we go.